Analysts say that there might not be enough infrastructure in place for them to ramp up their LNG exports. These terminals are really expensive. The ships are really expensive, and it's a really investment-heavy process. And it's unclear they have the capital necessary to sort of scale up their natural gas sales in the way that they have been able to do with oil.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by energy and environment reporter Breanne Deppisch. Breanne, there are a lot of changes coming to Congress, leadership change among Republicans in the Senate, a lot of retirements of key committee members in the House. Talk a little bit about what the potential energy policy impact of all this will be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really hard to overstate just how much expertise on energy and climate issues really will be departing the Hill, or at least departing from these leadership positions. The Senate, there have been 3 key resignations from top energy and climate committees. Most recently, Mitch McConnell announced that he would not be seeking re-election as the majority leader. You know, after being the longest one in history, he played a really key role in helping shape a lot of issues on coal, and also, of course, helping Trump get the conservative majority court that made a lot of really important rulings on environmental things and pollutants from regulated by the EPA, things like that. On the House, they've also seen a really striking departure of top leadership. I think at last count, 11 Republicans on the House Energy and Commerce Committee announced they plan to not run for re-election. Kathy McMorris Rodgers, the chairwoman, will not be seeking re-election. So all of that just begs the question, who will fill all of these slots? And there just really aren't enough people that have been in this space for long enough, to sort of replace all of the senior members that are leaving. So yeah, it really leaves a lot to be seen. I think a lot depends on who retains control of the House and Senate after the elections this year. But yeah, certainly there will be a sea change in both houses, both chambers.
So we've hit another milestone in terms of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That war has been ongoing. Talk a little bit about what the energy market impact of that has been. Where does that stand right now?
Yeah, there have been a ton of market impacts, and I've reported on most of them at length. But we've talked about this before. Just the profound impact on oil markets. The EU, the UK, most Western countries have banned the purchase of Russian crude, or announced plans to do so in the near future. As a result, Russia has rerouted the majority of its supplies to buyers in China and India. There was the oil price cap, which aims to limit Russian fossil fuel profits. It's kind of unclear. The verdict is still out on whether that's having a notable effect on prices. But beyond that, it's worth, I think, also looking at the impact of natural gas. Prior to the war and the invasion of Ukraine, Russia actually sent the majority of its gas supplies via pipeline, primarily to Europe via Nord Stream 1. And so a lot of its infrastructure was set up for sending shipments via pipeline, not LNG. That's a totally different process. And so after the explosion of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, it's been sort of forced to adapt to this LNG market, which allows it to ship fuel to buyers overseas. It also continues to ship natural gas to Europe, which it can do until 2027. Analysts say that there might not be enough infrastructure in place for them to ramp up their LNG exports. These terminals are really expensive. The ships are really expensive, and it's a really investment-heavy process. And it's unclear they have the capital necessary to sort of scale up their natural gas sales in the way that they have been able to do with oil.
Are we seeing any tensions between the United States and our allies who are maybe a little bit more affected by the ways in which the war in Ukraine has impacted energy markets?
It's interesting. I've heard a lot of things on background or off the record, but yes, certainly,
We're going to reveal all these off the record things now.
Absolutely. Just stay tuned. But yeah, so certainly Biden's decision to pause, all new LNG export terminals for the review was met with what I was told, was complete surprise by European leaders. Obviously, they remain well supplied in the near term, but there are major concerns over whether the pause could, deter future investments in new U.S. export facilities, and this could really cut into European gas supplies in the next decade. So there are a lot of concerns there. I think Japan and some Asian allies have been a little bit more outspoken.
Sure.
One of my sources told me that, European allies are likely staying a little bit quieter publicly just because they're aware where there's an election coming up. This could be bad politically for Biden.
They're a little closer to Russia.
Exactly. So there's
geographically.
There's a lot at stake there, but certainly a lot of political divisions over the pause and how it might affect our relationships in Europe.
And it all comes back to November.
It does.
Thank you, Breanne.
Thank you, Jim.
You can read Breanne and subscribe to our Daily on Energy newsletter at WashingtonExaminer.com.